Hello everyone. What a day. What a day. Let's have some music while we get warmed up. So I'm going to post with my new thing here. So charts live stream going out now. Join in to talk about the market, NFTs, and maybe crypto too. Why not? And I'm going to post it to Discord, and I know this bit works, and we're going to try also posting to Twitter and see if that works. Message to Twitter has been queued, and if I look at my logs, I think it's probably been sent. Where is it? Maybe it hasn't been sent. Okay, so that bit hasn't worked yet. Maybe I should have tested it. Yeah, okay, that doesn't matter. Just copy paste. Or tried to copy paste, but apparently I didn't copy anything. Okay, never mind. Let me. I've got another copy here. There you go. So, welcome. Let me do the most important thing. Type GM in the chat. And welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis with me, Daniel Tanner, aka Swombat, where we can look at what's going on with the markets now without Azuki in the health chart, which helps make it more representative of what's happening in the market. And we're going to try and figure out what's going on. And let's face it, I mean, on the face of it, we kind of know what's going on. It's doom and like fear and all these kind of things. And it's been a rough week, really. It's probably going to continue to be a rough week. And so I kind of want to start with a bit of just a sort of meta comment, a bit of a kind of context on this. Like, let's remember that although like everybody who's listening to this is obviously looking at lines on the screen, because that's what my charts are doing, that's not life, and that's not what's important. And the market may go for you or against you. You might make a lot of money, you might lose a lot of money, and it doesn't matter. It's not what matters in life. And so just remember, if you're feeling really stressed by this stuff, you can just turn it off. You don't have to dial into my live stream. I appreciate the support, I appreciate the attention, but you really don't need to watch this every day. Maybe it's better for your mental health that you take a break from this. Like, take a week off, and despite the fact that everything is happening now, it will continue happening in the background without you knowing about it, and you don't need to know about it. At some point in 2019, I was very blessed to be able to spend about 2.5 months. I disconnected completely from everything, and it was a wonderful thing for my mental health. I learned to reconnect to what it's like to be me, to be alive, and to not be always connected to all this social media stuff and all these events that are happening all the time. And I left my company that I was running as well. I really disconnected from everything. And, life went on, and life was beautiful without all these things. And you don't need all those things in your life in order for your life to be fun or to be interesting or to be worth living. Every moment is full of opportunity to enjoy life, whether or not there are lines on the screen. So if this stuff is stressing you out, if you're feeling like, you're biting your nails, you're struggling to sleep and so on, this is a good sign that take a break from this, disconnect, come back in a week, go to the gym, go spend time with some friends. I don't advise to get drunk, because I think that's just dissociating from what's happening, but just do whatever makes you feel good. Like, having a glass of wine is not the end of the world. And just enjoy life, because life was enjoyable before all these lines on the screen, and it's going to continue to be enjoyable after those lines on the screen and without them and so on. It's not what life is about. So don't be misguided by your mind telling you that this is what matters. It is not what matters. This stuff is unimportant. With that disclaimer out of the way, not disclaimer, that word out of the way, let's have a look at what's happening with the lines on the screen, because that's also why people are here. And what's happening on to the lines on the screen? Well, first of all, let's just quickly look at the bar charts. And now I've taken out, so Azuki, which used to be orange, is no longer there. In white, we have Cyber Brokers, which was the next one on the relevance index. And we can see that, okay, that was the sell-off that we talked about yesterday. It then went down further. There's now a bit, like, again, a bit more of a sell-off, so it's kind of bouncing up a little bit. I think given how gas is and stuff, and given what's happening in the other markets, I wouldn't trust this to last, personally. I think people are just, like, there's a lot of words, like a lot of people who are posting on Discords and stuff saying they're liquidating everything and they're going to just try and sell, which, I mean, gas is 174 right now, so maybe it's possible to sell right now. But for a while, it was like 700, 800, as I think everybody's trying to sell their crypto coins as well. And in that context, no matter how much you list it for, nobody's going to buy at 800. And a lot of those NFTs that people are trying to sell are probably not even worth that much anyway. I think it's a lot of stress for nothing. And you might as well wait to see. Some of those projects will recover. If you bought into projects which were worth the conviction, they will recover. If you bought in projects that were not worth that conviction, they won't recover. And, you know, that's kind of how investments go. That's what, I mean, I wasn't there for the last big crash in 2017 or something, like after the ICO bubble, but as I understand it, that's what happened. Like, many coins that seemed good went to zero, and coins that were actually worth investing in continued to go and, you know, were worth holding. By now, any of your coins that are going to go to zero are probably fairly close to zero anyway, so I wouldn't rush to sell them. If anything, wait a bit for a rebound rather than sell while we're going down, because there probably will be a rebound at some point. If we look at this picture here, the short-term picture, we can see that, okay, like, we're not just going straight down here in the top 10. We're doing a little dance going down still, I think. Now that we've taken out the Azuki distortion, we're seeing this as well quite clearly in the Zeneca Old, clear downtrend going on there. Yes, this thing like caught up a little bit higher, but bear in mind it's being propped up by a panicked market that's trying to sell at any cost. In Zeneca New, we're seeing a massive drop in volume. Just now we've broken past whatever support that was. Thanks, Greg. Yes, I'm good. And Women-Led Projects also has broken past that support that it had touched 4 times and held 4 times. It's now just collapsed even more in terms of volume. If we have a look at the top 10, one thing I note, and obviously the reasons for things to happen are very different now than they were back in March, but it feels like the pattern is remarkably similar. We had a kind of a rise in volume, then we had a Yuga Labs extinction event, and then a change in trend that happened by, like, you know, they went up a lot and then it went down and up and down and up and like kind of zigzagged on the way down through a channel. And it feels like what we're seeing here is like, so we had this kind of up going there, we had the Yuga Labs extinction event, and now we're probably in the downtrend that probably looks something like this, where it's going to go up and down and up and down and up and down, and maybe like not precisely like this, so it might go up again here, or it might just bounce a little bit and then continue down and go like this. I don't know, but that's my sense of what might happen. Of course, I could be wrong. I can't predict the future. I think it might also go worse, because what we didn't have in this one was, like, if you look at the prices, they actually rose near the end of this this zigzagging. Why? I'm not entirely sure, but they did. Whilst now the prices have collapsed a lot. Like, the price collapse here at the beginning was much smaller than what we've seen here. There's been much more of a price collapse in this one. Probably because the macroeconomic context is much worse than it was at that point. Although the Ukraine war was already going, like, Ukraine war had started here. So Ukraine war was already going at that point, but maybe the sort of macroeconomic disaster was not yet unfolding at that point. It was not yet so clear. So now things feel even worse. And, like, I mean, let's face it, we've had not only like macroeconomic conditions getting worse, rate hikes and so on, and now the whole Terra thing and Bitcoin crashing and stuff. So yeah, these conditions are worse, and that leads me to think that it could look worse rather than, like, right now it looks better, this, or it might even look better because there's more selling off going on. So that's also possible. Dikenza, good to see you again. Haven't been here for a while. You're back for the good times. Good question. How do we go up? I mean, like, well, I can make the line go up. Hold on, where's the flip? Like, I can flip the chart upside down, and then the line will look like it goes up. But ultimately, like, I've always had the assertion that what's going to make this go up properly, rather than the hype cycle, which is what we've been experiencing. Like here, basically, we've experienced a kind of hype cycle. Like, actually, there was also one here and here, and it's been very unreliable at creating long-term value. We can see that this has been kind of sideways, which the crypto market has also been sort of trending sideways all this time. Like, you can see the price index has been remarkably flat. I mean, it's been oscillating in this thing, but it's not been going up substantially, despite people, like some projects have gone up, but like on average, the top 10 projects haven't gone up that much. They're now down, actually, back to levels from September. Like, the price has gone down there. How do we make this go up? Ultimately, the space needs to become attractive to more investors. As long as it's a closed circuit, a closed system where the same investors like keep going from one project to the next, chasing the hype and just rotating around and hoping to catch the next bit of alpha before everybody else follows them, whether that's moving to the anime meta or the 3D meta or the whatever meta, as long as we're playing that game, that's just, redistributing funds amongst ourselves. What can grow the market, what can grow the whole system, is money from people who aren't in the NFT market. And what makes the market attractive to people who aren't in the NFT market there's two pools of people we might want to attract. One is investors, like traditional startup investors and so on, who have a lot of money to invest in this kind of stuff. Like, your average ticket price for investing in a startup in London, for example, is about £10,000. That's like today's ETH prices. That's probably like 5, 6, 7 ETH. So people can spend that kind of money investing in NFT startups, and they probably will, I think. But for that, they need the startups to look attractive, and most of the stuff on offer hasn't been that attractive, I think. Has been too much degen and not enough actual like visible value. And the other group of people, of course, who can bring money into a market like this and end up making money for investors is the customers. And we need projects to build stuff that's actually useful for customers. Like, people might want to buy for a price that seems reasonable to them, rather than speculate on for thousands of dollars, hoping to make thousands of dollars more by selling it to somebody else. That's what's going to turn the lines up. And I guess, to an extent, if this continues and it flushes out a lot of short-term speculators that are just trying to make 20x returns in 3 days, then that's probably going to be good for that objective. Because as the hype dies down, it's going to be easier to spot the real utility in projects. And so I'm actually quite positive about this in terms of making my investment thesis easier to follow, because projects won't be so overhyped, and they'll be more on a pitching mode, and they'll have to do a better job of pitching for money. I think they'll still get money. They'll just need to do a better job rather than just say, oh, here's some cool art and we're going to do a collection, and we've got this influencer on board. You need to pay us 3 ETH per NFT now. That's not going to fly anymore in a sort of low hype crypto winter type mode, I think. I hope. And I might be wrong, of course, but that's my thinking of how things start going up. If we have a look at Zeneca Old hasn't, like, it's showing the same sort of downtrend. Sorry, we don't want this one, we want this one. It's showing the same-ish sort of downtrend. It's much more obscure, actually, here. I don't know why it's looking so obscure. It's quite a hard chart to read today. Is it actually the correct chart? I'm wondering if it's generated incorrectly somehow. But no, I think this is correct. Yeah, but still, it's also near. Yeah, so there's that kind of bottom that's been held several times. It's kind of coming back to here. If we continue with the current trend, it's going to continue down. Bearing in mind, this peak here is also the same sell-off that we've seen in the top 10. It's these projects mostly at the bottom there that are driving it, and those projects are the top 10 largely. So don't see this as a real rebound in activity. Actually, I should probably generate Zeneca Old without the top 10, to be honest. That would probably be more helpful. Maybe I'll fix that up. Zeneca New, on the other hand, is much clearer. If we had any kind of like bottom that would held for a while, which was broken briefly here, it's now cleanly broken. We're sort of hanging around here, which is, you know, very low volumes of very low levels of volume for this index. I guess a lot of projects are going to end up never recovering from this. We'll see. And finally, if we look at the women-led projects index, again, same picture. It's broken now. It's now like fully, properly historic. I mean, the last time we were at this level of volume was in August. I think 90% of the index wasn't running at that point. Like 90% of the projects in this index weren't running at that point. So that's pretty awful, basically. Again, an index. I mean, remember these indices now, Zeneca Old, Zeneca New, and women-led projects, because they're not really kept up to date in terms of rotating projects in and out. They're mostly just thermometers thrust into 3 different points of the market, and they're like they just give us some information, but not the most useful information, and that will come when I actually manage to build that new stats engine. Why don't we have a look at crypto as well, for completeness. It's not a pretty picture, but it is part of the picture. I had USDT. So USDT, oh my God. No, that's UST, thank God. I thought I was looking at USDT and I was like, oh no, that's not good news. No, this is UST. UST is still in shambles, but if we look at Bitcoin, it's like I've been saying that it was going to probably break clean through the 28.9k support. It did yesterday. Today it went all the way down. It wicked all the way down to 25.2 or so. I think it's going to continue going down. If we look at the weekly view here, so we're now below the support that we held last summer. That's just like we're actually just below where we wicked last summer. Last summer when this happened, there was a lot of buy pressure to like shoot it back up as well. Here there isn't. People aren't buying. Like the market is just not valuing, not like the market is just telling us that nobody thinks that this is the end, and I think they're right. On the hopeful side, look at the weekly volume. We're getting there. Like, I've been saying I want to see a capitulation candle there on the weekly volume that's around here. It's still Thursday today. We might get there by Sunday. It's quite plausible. At the current levels of activity, this could be the capitulation candle where and it also matches the feeling that I'm seeing on Discord, where everybody's like, no, I'm just going to sell everything and wait it out. And that's the point where, all the short-term speculators get out of the market. The price collapses to probably undershoots to, but like goes past a reasonable level, which is where it should be. And then it can start building up from there again. And eventually the speculators come back, and that's the cycle. But we're possibly having this capitulation candle now, which, like it happened here, it's like doesn't mean that we're going to stop there. We might still continue trending down, but eventually it sort of prepares the ground for a rebound. At least that's my understanding of how these kind of things work. It's probably worth, like, just for completeness, I'm curious, I hope like everything is okay with USDT. Like that really gave me a shock a little. So we've had a bit of a fright with USDT, but as some people have pointed out, USDT, like this chart doesn't show it, but USDT has had depegs before and it has survived them. It's just because it's got like it depegs a little bit doesn't mean that it's not going to recover. It happens, but it just doesn't stay for long. That's very different from the picture we've seen there with UST Terra, which has just depegged and stayed depegged. Wow, Luna is now $0.02. Whew. Well, I hope nobody bought this hoping to make a quick buck. I mean, I did say yesterday that it was a very, very risky gamble to try and buy that, and some people probably still did. I mean, at this point you might buy it as a joke, but I think the chances of it recovering are extremely low, minus 99.97%, and this was worth billions and billions. I actually have a few hundred Luna somewhere. So a few hundred? No, not a few hundred. A few Luna. I bought them around here. I bought about $500 worth of Luna around here or something. So yeah, was it around here? No, it was more around here. No. Yeah, anyway, it was somewhere around there. And I hope nobody has too much of their money. Well, they probably don't have any more much of their money in Luna. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions, things they'd like me to speak to? I'm happy to do my best. Obviously, I can't tell the future. I can do my best to help, but you know, I'm just me. But maybe I can help in some sort of way. So bought a bit at 0.075. Well, you're down. Like, you're down 60%, 70%. And probably still going down. I mean, I'd be very surprised if this thing actually recovers. It might do. Who knows? Weirder things have happened, but it's very unlikely at this point. Yeah. And it's not a very good look for the... Another thing that I found really amazing about this chart is, like, look, I mean, the price has barely changed there today, but look at the size of the volume somehow. Like, volume here is... Why is it not telling me the volume? There you go. 21 billion. Like, if you scroll it like this, you see that as this scrolls up, the previous candle is already like massive and like flattens out all the previous volume. Then the previous one is also like massive and you can barely see the rest of the volume. And the previous one is also an increase already. Like, you know, this is insane volume. Basically, everybody's sold everything. Is this the end of it all? No, it's not the end of it all. It's just lines on a screen. It's just the market's doing crazy shit. It's happened before. Like, if you watch Battlestar Galactica, you know, all of this has happened before. All of this will happen again. And that's the way, like, stock markets work, basically. Like, they kind of harness people's greed and irrational exuberance to power huge amounts of wealth creation, but also there's this kind of little problem of the occasional bubbles. I like to think back to the fact that, you know, the first stock market was created by Amsterdam. They created the first stock market, which the main company that was there was the Dutch East Indies Company, which everybody bought in, and it was a great innovation. Great innovation that everybody was, like, you know, really excited about, and they started playing on the stock market. And guess what happened? The tulip mania, which is famous for being one of the first stock market frenzies and bubbles and all that kind of stuff, where everybody was gambling on tulip prices that were going through the moon, because guess what? They were limited supply, they were non-fungible, and they were difficult to make, and so on. And that cost a lot of people a lot of money. Probably some people, like, committed suicide because they'd lost everything and so on, which please don't. If you've ever have those kind of thoughts, please get some help. There's help out there. Like, people often point to that as like, oh, like, you know, this bubble was really bad and stuff like that. Yeah. And this innovation of the stock market and the Dutch East Indies Company, with a strong dose of imperialism, also powered 100 years of Dutch empire. And, you know, the Dutch continued to basically rule the world commercially and kind of militarily as well for much of the rest of that century after the tulip mania. So this system has its issues for sure, but it also creates enormous amounts of wealth. And that's why we still use it. Like, you know, they say it's kind of like that saying about democracy. It also applies to capitalism. That is the worst system we've ever invented, except for all the other ones. And that's just how the system works. Just accept that that's part of the system and try not to get too caught up in it, because it's just a system. And the wealth, like, just because the lines go up and down, you know, the wealth that is outside of your door or even inside your door still exists. And that's the wealth. Like, this table is a form of wealth. This microphone is a form of wealth. My health is a form of wealth. Those are things that I can use, that I can, you know, like, actually make things with. A lot of this stuff that we look at, these lines on the screen, is just speculation. Like, the hospital that I can go to if I have a health problem, that's wealth. The food that I can buy and that I can eat, that's wealth. Those things are wealth. And obviously all the capacity, all the systems that enable this to continue our wealth. And as a society, we built a lot of speculative system on top of these wealth systems. And sometimes these speculative systems have some issues and hiccups, but the wealth is still there. The hospital hasn't disappeared. The food is still, like, you know, available. If that starts changing, then you might start worrying about, like, you know, okay, maybe wealth is disappearing. But right now it's just imaginary wealth, part of this imaginary game that is disappearing for now. and it will probably come back. They will certainly come back. It will stabilize at some point. It's going to have 6 months to just shake off everybody who has any hope of recovering stuff. Everybody will have sold everything, and then at some point, 6 months, 2 years, I don't know how long, and at some point it will start building up again. And that's the way that this kind of system works. Any other questions? If BTC dips this hard at this point, are we slowly breaking flow to stock? I think it's called stock to flow. I don't know. I've not been very much into that stock to flow model. It seemed a little bit arbitrary to me. And plus, they had this kind of thing where they have these, for those who don't know, they have these kind of lines that go like this. And then they show how the price of Bitcoin has kind of followed this like this. And then it sort of goes like this. I don't know. It doesn't seem to follow it very well, but they still say oh yeah, it's definitely following the stock to flow model. No, not really. There's just a kind of line like this that both of those are sort of following. I'm not that keen on that model. It didn't really impress me. And maybe I just didn't do enough analysis about it. BTC is not the new gold. Is it not? How's gold doing? Is gold doing that much better? Let's see, I've got it here in my speculative assets. Well, gold is also dipping down to prices from earlier this year. Not quite as low as other things, but it's definitely not doing amazingly well either. Gold is down from 2000, it's down about 10% at the moment. So less volatile than Bitcoin for sure, but it also goes down. But yeah, Bitcoin is not yet considered to be the new gold. I mean, it's hypothetically going to be the new gold. It's not yet there. Any other questions? Shall I put the peaceful music to help us relax while we think of questions? Here's nice music. I'm glad I chose peaceful music rather than the kind of frenetic beats electronic music, which can be really good. I love that music, but it's nice to have something peaceful when doing this. Why do we drink in the morning? I don't know, what do you drink in the morning? I have meal replacement shake from this program that I'm doing, often, sometimes with some coffee inside. Today I had a coffee because I went to the gym afterwards. Thoughts on Meta Labs cohort? Right, oh, that's a good question. Yeah, let's have a look at that. I think I retweeted it, so let's see if I can find it. Actually, probably just go to the Meta Labs account. And Angel Labs. Okay, let me just search here. Angel Labs. Where's the Twitter? There you go. They presumably have that tweet pinned somewhere. Right. So, as okay, there's multiple questions there about the angels. Yes, I have bought some more angels, not with gas at 200. I'm not bothering with that, but I have bought some more angels. I think right now, if I look here, how many angels do I have? They're not in my top 10 anymore. They've dipped in price. I'd be buying some more now, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus another 2 that are on loan. So 7 times 5, 42 angels at the moment, which I might consider buying some more. Because this is not a real floor right now. It's just nobody's actually buying because the gas is too high. And I mean, I don't believe that this is a persistent floor. And even if it is a persistent floor for a while, I'm buying into the long-term value. Look, it's not a very thick floor there. It goes back up to 0.1 very rapidly. And even 0.1, I think people are just trying to liquidate and get their money out and stuff, and they're not making rational decisions selling those because those are long-term investments. That's the way I look at them, and therefore I'm not selling just because I bought these to keep for the next 6 months to 5 years, not to sell them because there's a dip in the market and the market is collapsing and stuff. This is not a Meta Angels is not a hype-driven project; it's a value-driven project. Watch my review of Meta Angels if you want more thoughts on that. I mean, I haven't had a chance to really look into detail. And, you know, the kind of summary of the projects is difficult to, like, you know, make a judgment about each project. You can make a judgment about which one you like more and which one you like less. But one thing that I'm very clear that I like quite a lot about all these projects is all of them are trying to do something that people might want to buy. Like some of them more obviously than others, but all of them are trying to bring some kind of, like, you know, tangible value that somebody might be willing to pay for, which to me is the essential component of a successful NFT project. None of them are like, oh, we're going to be the next big story of this and that and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. They're probably, like, you know, some of the weaker ones are, for example, this one, gifting platform for body positive art. Not entirely sure why that's how that's going to create long-term value, but, like, I don't know enough about this project obviously to judge it based on a couple of lines like this. But I don't see the obvious link there. But and also, like, you know, so yeah, some of them are weaker than others. I'll grant you that. I mean, it's from my perspective, and I have a very personal perspective. Giving gamers an identity in the real world, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if people will be willing to pay for that, but it's possible that they'll be willing to pay for that. Product development to CBD enhanced pantry and snack items. Yeah, okay, so that could be an interesting model. It's kind of like their Angel Labs is accelerating an accelerator for CBD enhanced pantry and snack items developers. What's another good one? Well, like group investment in real estate could be interesting. Like these guys are actually making a product that are funding via NFTs. So do I know exactly how value flows back from angel holders to labs? Well, one of the ways is that Angel Labs will actually be paid for this, and I imagine, like, you know, the revenue can help boost both projects because they boost each other. They're joined at the hip, so to speak. And when these projects are successful, Angel Labs would also be successful and share the revenues of that, I think, with Meta Angels. But the other way is that, remember, Meta Angels is basically a personal network turned into an NFT project. And the value of a personal network is in the people in that network. The more like useful people who can do stuff you have in that network, the better. Probably the most valuable version of that network that exists in the world at the moment is the Y Combinator alumni network. If you're on that network of people who are running companies that have gone through Y Combinator, at least assuming it's still functional, because it was at some point, but a lot of companies have gone through now, so maybe there's too many people on there and maybe it's not as helpful. But let's say you were on that network in 2015. At that point, I know, like, well, at least as far as I know, it was still very functional, and you'd have, you know, a few hundred people on that network, and in those people you'd include the founders of Airbnb, of Dropbox, of all sorts of super successful startups. And like, if you needed an intro to literally anybody, you'd probably be able to get it from that network. And that's very valuable, and that's what I believe Meta Angels is building, and Angel Labs helps with that, because if those founders become successful and they feel, you know, some sense of wanting to still help the Meta Angels project, then they're part of that network, and they become part of the sort of wishing well mechanic, and they can help make things happen for Meta Angels holders. That's a way that the value flows back, I think, and that makes then belonging to the Meta Angels network more valuable. Any other questions? Put the music back on again. And we don't have to have more questions. I thought there'd be more questions about the market, but I guess everybody is aware of what's going on with the market. Probably doesn't need me. Oops, I realized I've just been slightly off frame. Probably doesn't need me to talk more about this somewhat clusterfuck that the market is. Where's BTC now? It's gone up a bit. It was at 26k earlier, but it will go down again. I'm pretty sure of that. The weekly candle is what I'm watching, the weekly volume. If that reaches towards here, I'm gonna start considering that maybe we're close to the bottom. Might still have like some sliding, but we maybe have got most of the way down. That would be nice. That's what I'm reading for. Okay. So I guess there aren't too many questions. Thank you for dialing, and I hope this was helpful. And remember, this is just lines on the screen, and if you start to get stressed about it and you start to feel like, you lose a sense of life being what it is, which is this wonderful opportunity to exist and enjoy life, then switch off the screen and go and enjoy, like, sitting on the grass outside, have a beer with you if you like beer, or a glass of wine or anything, and hug a tree. It's remarkably nice to hug a tree. I know it sounds very cliche and like, tree huggers and hippies and stuff, but it feels really good and grounding. Try it if you haven't done that yet. Find a really big tree and sort of try to hug it. You're hugging something that's alive and that's been alive longer than you, and it's kind of hugging you back if you feel it the right way. So yeah, enjoy your day and don't worry too much about this stuff. Go and enjoy life. Take care.